Good afternoon, everybody. I am David Jerome, and we are having one of our curated sessions on Facebook today with our leader at El Paso Electric Company, Adrian. Adrian is a good friend of the Chamber. I have to say we're quite lucky because Adrian does sit on the on our board of directors, and I've had the chance over the last several months to get to know him better. I think. And it's been a real privilege and an honor. I enjoy the seriousness of his thought on business, and also his willingness to work for our community through organizations like the Chamber. And so it's really quite lucky to get him today, because I think during times like this, where we wind up having something like COVID-19 to deal with, we want to be able to rely on leaders in business, and I can assure you that the El Paso Electric Company is in great hands. So if everybody could, I think we'll do a quick hello to Adrian Rodriguez. So welcome to the. How are you today?
Thank you, David. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I'm doing well as anyone can be under these circumstances, and I hope you're doing well with your team at the Chamber.
We are. Thank you, Adrian. Hey, one of the things that comes to mind is when I'm lucky enough to get a few minutes of your time, one of the things that I think is really interesting is that this COVID-19 is sort of hitting our communities in three levels. Obviously, it's a healthcare tragedy that is leading to business sort of landscape-wide business difficulties and also information problems. People don't know where to get good data, which is partly why we're hosting these kinds of events. So people want to know how the electric company is dealing. They can listen to this going forward and get some good information. But on the business side, we're noticing that it's a chamber with 1,400 members and some 200,000, pardon me, employees. We're noticing that for small and medium enterprises particularly, this is really difficult times. Now, there's a lot that we're trying to do and that you support clearly through the Chamber, with us trying to help small and medium enterprises with coaching and loans and things of this sort, all those things that you encourage us to do to support. But just in general, if you had to sort of characterize things that the electric companies are doing that would be good best practice, or just a way to think about this, maybe we could get you to start there just to share a couple of thoughts as to what you think is happening here.
Well, let me give you a bit of a background as to how we deal with this in the industry. And for those who I haven't met, of course, on this online feature, my name is Adrian J Rodriguez. I'm the Interim Chief Executive Officer at El Paso Electric Company. We're the electric utility that provides electric service from Hatch, New Mexico to Van Horn, Texas, with our two largest communities being El Paso, Texas, and Las Cruces, New Mexico. Being a part of this industry is extremely important as it pertains to preparing for these types of incidents. The electric utility industry coordinates significantly in sharing best practices. So our colleagues at utilities in other parts of the country who were either dealing with COVID-19 earlier than we are, or our colleagues in the New York City area, which are dealing with significant challenges right now, are sharing information with fellow utilities around the country. And the great thing that we are able to do, and that I hope a lot of our other members of the Chamber can take advantage of, is to interact with colleagues in their industries, to learn best practices, to understand the challenges, and to understand the impacts on different groups, that being, your business personnel, your employees, and most importantly, our customers. So those are one part of our industry that is a practice that other industries may be able to take advantage of, is the fact that they can pick up the telephone, that we can pick up the telephone, and hopefully they can too, to interact with other colleagues in the industry. As I noted, we're constantly monitoring COVID-19 situation. We've been tracking this probably since January, and our industry has been sharing information about it since earlier this year. We modified our procedures and practices for employees who still need to report to their work locations. We made a strong push to communicate good hygiene and social distancing to the extent possible, especially for our employees on the field. And ahead of the stay-at-home directive and the statewide disaster orders, we suspended the disconnection of customers due to non-payment. And we continue to help our customers offering payment plans and direct assistance with support from our partners. I will, however, David, make a quick note of some telephone numbers that I want people that are listening, if they do have any questions, whether they be a residential customer or one of our one of our business customers in our service territory. If you are in Texas and you have a question, please call our customer care department at 915-543-5970. And for our New Mexico customers, that's 575-526-5555. Those numbers, of course, I understand, we may not have the opportunity to give those numbers or have them visible, but you can always also go to www.epelectric.com. That's our company website where you can find those numbers and learn more information about how you can deal with COVID-19.
What we'll do, Adrian, is when we post this video for everybody to see, we'll make sure that we also post those numbers in the website for you as well to make sure everybody gets them. It'd be a pleasure. Real quick, one of the things that I do think is coming up, and I know that you've given us both business and residential line to call in case people have, but one of the things that we're noticing increasingly is people are doing everything online right now, video conferences and things of this sort. Are there scams that people need to worry about?
This is particularly important, David, and I think especially not just where phishing campaigns or strange emails and text messages that can show up, but as it pertains to utility customers, unfortunately, there's a lot of bad actors out there who can take advantage of a crisis situation. And so if any customer receives a text message or telephone call threatening disconnection or requesting immediate payment, please understand that that is not the practice of El Paso Electric Company. That is not the practice of our colleagues in the utility industry. Please call one of those numbers, directly check El Paso, the website that I gave you for El Paso Electric Company, www.epelectric.com, and be mindful that is likely to be a scam. If anybody's pressing a customer, whether they be a business or residential customer, to take action immediately or to try to make an immediate payment, please, you can hang up that telephone or disregard that message and call our customer care center to get the right information. So be mindful of scams. Unfortunately, there are people out there that take advantage of situations like these when we're trying to come together to do the right thing and prey on people's fears.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think that is very important. We don't need any more stress in times like this, do we? So keeping away from scams and being able to get good information is a big part of this. One of the things, too, that strikes me is that I know that you guys are going through enormous efforts, as clearly you are a critical sort of bit of our infrastructure in something like this. We know that the stress of this virus will lead to, let's say, if we're lucky, in the next couple of weeks, we might start a muted kind of recovery for a while, but projections are that this is going to impact everybody for a while. I won't get into speculation at this point for how long, but clearly for a while. How is the electric company going to cope with this, let's say, through the end of the year?
Well, one thing to note is we'll do our best for planning. And one way to note is if you had asked people a year ago what back in spring of 2019, what spring of 2020 would look like, I doubt very few people would have ever thought that we would be in the situation that we are in right now. So based on the available information that we have, we are trying to plan for the future. As we noted, we may not know at this moment what shape assistance will be in the form of, but we have state agencies in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Austin, Texas, and Washington, D.C. that sometimes will direct or request that the industry take certain actions, and we'll of course see those as they develop. I know that one of our layer of assistance goes to with our support of financial assistance to our community nonprofits that do plenty of good for our region. Our community partner program has historically granted over $1.2 million each year to over 100 nonprofits, and we will continue with our priority of organizations working directly for pandemic relief in our communities. We've already granted $30,000 to our local community foundations that have developed COVID-19 responses, and we'll be mindful of that. We're of course listening to our customers and figuring out the best path forward. As we noted, we're always working with customers who do have questions regarding their bills, and I urge them to call our customer care lines to understand what options are available. In terms of getting back to work and thoughts of how we modify our work schedules, again, we're going to have to rely on the guidance available from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They will give us guidance regarding our office employees who have to work remotely, and maybe there could be, and again, this is just speculation, we will consider staggered return to work type situations. But there's a group of employees that I really want to make sure we're mindful of, and those are employees who have to continue to report to a specific work location. And for our purposes, we've got a lot of employees who have to report to power plants. They have to report to our system operations and distribution dispatch centers. You'll see them sometimes actually out in the field up on a series of poles and wires. And what they are doing is they are hardening the system for the hot summer months, preparing it for the windy season. And that work is essential. And I'm very happy to note that the federal, state, and local governments have recognized across the country that electric utility workers and our colleagues in the gas and water industries are critical infrastructure employees who need to continue to get to work. Being in this part of the country, and this is a unique aspect for many of our fellow businesses, David, that are members of the El Paso Chamber and Chambers of Commerce, of course, across the state line, is that many of our employees have to cross the state line in order to go to work, or in order our work, because we do have one service territory, requires us to go from Van Horn to Hatch or vice versa. And this has been an effort from our governmental affairs team to work with the leadership in Santa Fe and the leadership in Austin and the leadership in El Paso and Las Cruces in order to make sure that those critical infrastructure employees can get to where they need to be. And to also that we're engaging in social distancing, not just for ourselves, but for them as well. We are, of course, minimizing the number of interactions that they have with people out in the field, and so that they can keep an appropriate social distance for the work they have to do.
Uh-huh. That's terrific to know. Thank you, Adrian. One of the things that I do think is also sort of interesting, you sort of mentioning it, I know your business spans two borders, right? So your customer base is both New Mexico and Texas. And how are you able to manage orders on both sides? How is it going right now with this virus?
Well, the first thing I will note is that the industry as a whole has been very key in advocating in Washington and at state capitals across the entire country that electric utility workers are essential employees. And I would be remiss, of course, if I didn't recognize the fact that there are plenty of first responders that we are proud to support every day. Our doctors and our nurses, our hospital workers, police officers, firefighters, and EMTs, they are true heroes in this crisis. And as a person who works with an industry that is recognized as critical infrastructure, we take our job duties very seriously to know that we are supporting them by keeping the power on. And so, as I noted, it's the industry and in different industries have recognized that and advocated for the recognition of critical infrastructure employees still continuing to do the work that they need to do in order to get the power to our hospitals and all of our frontline emergency responders. As it pertains to us specifically, this has been a very good avenue for discussion between us and our regulators in Austin. We have, of course, been working closely with the Industry Association in Texas, the Association of Electric Companies of Texas, and our colleague utilities in New Mexico to make sure that the line of communication is open from the state emergency operations centers directly to El Paso Electric Company. And of course, I'm happy to note that this is what our colleague companies are doing around New Mexico and around Texas as well.
Well, Adrian, before I say a couple of words to wrap it up, is there any thoughts that you'd like to leave the conversation on? Is there anything you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
Well, as I noted, this is an extremely difficult time. I mean, this, David, both for you and me, I don't think this is the first pandemic, unfortunately, that we may have faced in our lifetimes. I'm hoping that it is the last, but in any case, this is a difficult time, not just for us in the El Paso community and the Las Cruces community, not just in our states, not just in our country, but the world. And we are playing and we are working as best as we can to keep the power on. Our frontline employees, along with the assistance of the International Brotherhood of Electric Workers, Local 960, which is the union that represents a number of our employees at El Paso Electric Company, has shown that we can all come together, even when incidents like this require us to be at part. So the one thing that I do want to note is that the technology that we have today allows us a different degree of communication that we didn't necessarily have before. And I'm really glad that a lot of our technology professionals have been able to support us throughout this so that we can do things like this that we may not have necessarily been able to even do 10 years ago. So a thank you to a number of people who have had to step up. Obviously, I cannot say enough about our frontline workers who were there to support the frontline workers and medical professionals who were really needed in this emergency situation. But I'm asking all of our customers, colleagues, and friends throughout our service territory to please take care of themselves and each other.
Adrian, as always, a great note to leave on. Let me just say this too, from the perspective of the community just generally. We're quite lucky to have the Paso Electric Company. We're quite lucky to have it so ably led by you and your team. And a lot of attention does go, obviously, for very good reasons, to first responders in the hospitals and healthcare professionals. But I also think it would be horribly negligent of all of us not to be thinking of our folks that keep the power on as heroes as well, the frontline troops and everybody in the back as well. So please extend our heartfelt thanks to your team and deep appreciation for what they do every day to keep our lives as normal as possible in the least normal times I've ever lived in. You're right. This pandemic is unheard of. And I have to say, from my perspective, I've noted many companies I think are making very good decisions in very difficult times. And I'm heartened to be able to say, especially El Paso Electric. So thank you for spending time with us today. Thank you for taking the trouble to share information. As I said, is a premium and especially good information. And you've done a lot to help make sure people understand exactly what's going on out there from the perspective of your enterprise. So thank you again. And with that, we'll sign off. So thank you very much, Adrian. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, David. You too. And thank you for your leadership with the business community.
Oh, thank you. Bye now.